Are you tired of doing investment research on stock markets? Want to spend time on your hobbies or go out with your friends instead? Introducing iCapital, where you can get independent, objective, and comprehensive investment advice on the go. Available in English and Mandarin and can be accessed via app, website, and print copy. We provide thorough, first-hand research-based findings on listed companies, economies, and stock markets, and clear perspective of how markets interact and how they influence investments, as well as provide Malaysian and global stock recommendations, stock portfolios with outstanding performance to follow. Subscribe now to iCapital for stock news. From only 49 ringgit a year, start investing like a fund manager. Subscribe now at www.icapital.biz.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can see me clearly and hear me clearly. The disadvantage of this modern way of communicating is I can't really see you guys, and I'm not sure whether you can hear me. I still prefer the old-fashioned where we see one another, shake our hands, and have the human touch. Nevertheless, I assume that if you have any problem, you will contact our technical people to help you out. So what we'll do is go straight into this first webinar that we have conducted. I hope everything goes smoothly. The title is a bit misleading, Market Outlook 2025. And although it is promoted as a free webinar, you find that actually the outlook is a lot more than just 2025. And the amount of research that we put in is a lot. I hope that I can complete it in as fast as I possibly can. Nevertheless, this is a very serious topic, and I will start with our usual disclaimer. And for those of you, I think there'll be some of you who are new to us. For those of you who are new to us, let me just quickly explain to you our corporate philosophy of the 3 I's, the independence, intelligence, and integrity. Independence is simple. It's just meaning that capital dynamics is not linked with any financial institutions, political or government organizations, or broking houses, and so on. This is to prevent any possible conflicts of interest from arising. The second I refers to intelligence. Here we are talking about very basic commonsensical type of intelligence. We're not referring to an IQ of 200 or PhD, but because capital dynamics is very research driven. We don't act on rumors, hearsay. We will look at primary sources of data. The third I, which is integrity, is the most important to us all. And here it sounds very abstract, integrity, but trust me, believe me, that capital dynamics, this integrity philosophy, this value is something that we are very proud of, and we have never compromised in our 36 years of existence. Who is Capital Dynamics? For those who are not familiar, we are Asia's first global fund manager. We are the first Asian fund manager to obtain the retail Australian financial services license. We're very proud of that. We are Malaysia's first independent investment advisor. We are also the first ASEAN fund manager to obtain the asset management license, the Type 9 license from SFC Hong Kong. And we launch and manage Malaysia's only closed-end fund, iCapital.biz Berhad. Who am I? For those of you who are new, I'm Teng Boo. If you see me in WhatsApp, please make sure you run away because I don't use WhatsApp. If you see Capital Dynamics, iCapital, Teng Boo in WhatsApp, I can guarantee you that's a scam. Many people have been scammed through WhatsApp. And because of that, I don't use WhatsApp. I only use WeChat. So I founded Capital Dynamics way back in 1988. I'm an investor, entrepreneur, fund manager, and as I explained earlier, with a strong base in integrity. So I've gone through all the bulls and the bear markets on Malaysia, Singapore market since 1972. I have an honors degree in social sciences, majoring in economics, and I was made an adjunct professor at University Technology of Sydney. Contact us for those of you who are interested. These are the details. You can contact us in our Hong Kong office, Causeway Bay, in our KL office in Jalan Tun Chesley, in our Australian office in York Street. And the social media are there, the emails are there, and the websites are there. Our investment philosophy at the moment, there's only one, is bamboo value investing. Is basically traditional value investing innovated and modified to suit investing in different types of economies, different types of markets, different types of political governance. We have make sure that whatever modification that we do not depart from the two most important principles of value investing, which is to work out a margin of safety based on the intrinsic value of a company. Now, the talk today will touch on 5 major topics. If I speak too fast, that's because there's a lot of materials to cover. The subject is extremely complex. The first one we'll go through is I call US tariff imperialism. It is basically imperialism. And then we have MAGA, which is Make America Great Again, and artificial intelligence. Now, these 3 factors, the tariff imperialism, Trump's MAGA, and AI, have created a tremendous amount of uncertainties for everyone in the world. So there's this uncertainty which is weighing on not just on investors in the stock market, but also ordinary consumers and ordinary business people. So with that uncertainty, what do we do? So fortunately, you see at the bottom of the diagram, you have China that's upholding. So China is a source of stability. It is a source of certainty. And whatever China has done has, in effect, reduced the uncertainty that have come from these 3 mega forces. So with that, then what do you invest in? What is our market outlook? So generally, that's the gist of our talk. As you can see, it covers a very wide range of topics. I call it US tariff imperialism because that is what it is. It is not Liberation Day. It is a day of massacre. Every country, literally every country in the world was hit by reciprocal tariffs, including places, territories where there are more penguins than human beings. I pity the penguins because they cannot fight back. So you can see those are marked out in red. China, 84%. This was on April the 2nd. Vietnam, 46. Thailand, 36. Indonesia, 32. Malaysia, 24. These are the key major Southeast Asian and Asian economy. When Trump announced his so-called Liberation Day tariffs, there were 8 trading partners that were named in a document called Project 2025, in a chapter written by Peter Navarro, where he listed all these 8 trading partners that suffered the high tariffs: China, Vietnam, EU, Japan, Indonesia, South Korea, Switzerland, and Malaysia. Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, after the announcement of this tariff, delivered a very rare and sharp ministerial statement tackling this Trump's tariff. He says that protectionism is already bad. Unstable protectionism is even worse. I cannot agree more, totally. And if you understand the motives, the American motives behind this tariff imperialism, is not just bad or worse, it is scary. Here, just very quickly, a summary of the US-China trade war. February, the early part, US imposed 10% on China. Now, China retaliated 50%. That doesn't mean that China imposed more, because the 10%, that was a new tariff. There were already tariffs imposed by Joe Biden and Trump version 1. Then China retaliated 15%. Then US attacked with 20%. Then China, and after that, subsequently, on the Liberation Day, US imposed another 34%. China defended with a 34%. Subsequently, America attacked again with 104%. China retaliated with 84%. US attacked again with 125% and all the way to 145%. And China defended up to 125% and said, look, at that rate, we're not going to increase anymore. We're not going to respond to you anymore, because after that, it's a joke. Because at 145 and 125, basically, US and China do not have to trade anymore. This is like a total embargo. Of course, after that, there's a pause, right? So in our newsletter, iCapital, in the end 24th April issue, we analyzed and said that China has already won this trade war, the second trade war. On Monday, 12th of May, the US and China agreed to cut back on most of the new tariffs and pause it for 90 days so that both sides can negotiate. And the interesting part is that the crucial part is that amongst the 180 nations that were hit by this reciprocal US tariffs, China was the only country to retaliate. So basically, China fought back each instance. Trump raised his destructive tariff on China. The rest of the world benefited from China's resistance fight. So now they are having talks in London. I'm not sure what's going to happen. As of now, the US has not reached any trade deal, any successfully concluded any trade negotiations with any country in the world that they have imposed the reciprocal tariff. Even the trade deal with UK is, I call it a fake trade deal. So the impact will be inflationary, expected that in a year from now, the US inflation is going to shoot up. Over the next 5 years, the same thing will happen. The other thing that you must watch is MAGA, Make America Great Again, and Project 2025, which is driven by a movement called accelerationism. These three, MAGA, Project 2025, and accelerationism, you must link them to understand what America under President Trump is trying to achieve, because it is not just about a trade war. I have made a few YouTube videos on this. Please check on our YouTube channel under Capital Dynamics, and you can see some of the contents inside. So what is Project 2025? It is a wish list of the far right of America for Trump's version 2. The key objectives of Trump under MAGA is to remake America into a conservative nation dominated by male, whites, and Christians. Peter Navarro is the chief architect of Trump's tariff imperialism. He's 100% anti-China, and he has written a book in 2011 called Death by China in a very, I do not know how to describe it. It's supposed to be an economics book, but the way he has written it is like as if it is a thriller. Why am I paying so much attention to Project 2025? Because in that, this manual is about almost 900 over pages long, right? Kevin Roberts, who is the president of Heritage Foundation, wrote in the foreword of this Project 2025 that America is in the midst of a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the other parts of America allow it to be. So in other words, if the other parts of America were to oppose it, the second American Revolution will become, well, not bloodless anymore. And the objective of this Project 2025, as you can see underlying at the bottom, is that Trump must be set to defeat the threat of the Chinese Communist Party as his highest priority. Economic engagement with China should be ended. It's not decoupled, it's totally ended. So the stakes, according to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, could not be higher. The conservatives, meaning people like Trump and the state secretary and the whole bunch of the Trump administration, they've got just 2 years and one chance to get this correct. So they see enemies at home, they see enemies abroad, and they don't have any margin of error. So you can look at Trump version 2 versus Trump version 1. Trump version 2 is very aggressive, well organized, a lot more efficient, and they're going bang, 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 bang. These are some of the people who contributed to Project 2025 who are in Trump version 2 administration. Russell Vought, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe is the CIA director, and Tom Homan is the person in charge of the border issues, and so on and so forth. The best example to show you what is happening with the actual implementation of MAGA and Project 2025 is what's happening in Los Angeles. You know, President Trump has already sent in the National Guardsmen, and his administration has also threatened to send in US Marines. Legally, based on US Constitution, this is illegal because there is no rebellion, there's no invasion. The situation in Los Angeles is not a situation where the local police forces cannot handle it. So the justification to send in the National Guardsmen or even the Marine is unconstitutional. It is basically putting into action what they have already said, what they have promised under Project 2025. And the health secretary has dismissed the entire US CDC vaccine panel. The 70 members have all been sacked. Donald Trump has launched a battle with the top American universities, Columbia, Yale, Harvard. So in this case, the Harvard University has been sort of pinpointed. And what people in the Trump administration say is that they don't think that the American institutions can be reformed from within. So these institutions, no matter how famous they are, they need to be burned down and rebuilt from the edges. I'm running out of time. Let me very quickly talk about this movement called accelerationism. It is basically based on the perception that the future of the white race is bleak, that these white supremacists believe they must employ any means necessary to expedite the collapse of the current system so that they can rebuild a new world in their image. So whatever it is, whether you have to bring down the current system by violence, sabotage, or policy dressed in the form of national interest and patriotism, you must break this system, not just within the United States, but internationally, like the climate agreement, like withdrawing from WHO, and so on and so forth. Trump and Russia. Now, why do you think that Trump is so friendly towards Putin? Trump's tariff imperialism did not impose tariffs on Russia, despite Moscow having a trade surplus with America. Is it a coincidence? No. My theory, my belief, my analysis is that Russia is spared because Trump sees Russia as white, potentially a Christian ally against yellow-skinned China. So they want to destroy China, then Trump America would have everyone at his merciless mercy. Trump's MAGA is very deeply entwined with Christian nationalism because in their eyes, in Trump's eyes, in Trump's administration, they see Russia as a potential partner in a world war of values against secular liberalism, multiculturalism, and most importantly, in a war against China. If look at European history, East European history, if communist nations like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria can be transformed from communists into torchbearers of Western religion, then Russia can be rebranded too. Don't forget, Putin will not live forever. So the whole idea of this MAGA, of whatever is in Project 2025, is to destroy China because China is the only credible counter to American exceptionalism, because China's existence challenges the vision that they have of a divinely ordained world order. Okay, the next factor, artificial intelligence, that's creating this tremendous amount of uncertainty. AI has got three phases: infrastructure, platform, and application. Infrastructure is where you see building the data centers, the AI chips like NVIDIA. Platform is where you look at OpenAI, DeepSeek, and all that. We haven't really gone through the application stage yet, but at the platform stage, you can see how attractive this AI can be. OpenAI has just hit an annual recurring revenue of $10 billion US, 3 years after launching its ChatGPT. And in 2024, OpenAI received about $5.5 billion US in annual recurring revenue, but it lost $5 billion. So OpenAI is targeting by 2029, about 4 years from now, a revenue of about $125 billion. That is tremendous growth, huge growth, right? And it is valued at, OpenAI is valued at 30 times its revenue, which is supposed to reflect the high growth expectations of its investors. So you find that OpenAI is still in the early stages, but by March, it is already supporting 5 million weekly active users. And the company announced in June that it has 3 million paying business users, up from 2 million a month in February 2025. So you can see the explosive growth. But the explosive growth could be an opportunity for you to invest, or it could be a threat to your job, to your businesses, and so on. So what is the end result? What is the end consequence of AI? Many smart people are still trying to figure out. Many smart people, many not so smart people don't even know where to begin to ask the question, let alone find the answers. And AI is not just about investing. I did a very simple AI assignment. Chargy is the tea house from China. It says Chargy is primarily a brand based in Canada. This is from AI. So can you imagine? I mean, Chargy is really such a well-known brand, and they can get it completely wrong. And the other thing that is extremely important as you invest and try to make more money, think about the poor planet, climate change, because AI needs huge amount of energy. The world data centers consume as much as 500 terawatt hours of electricity in 2023. That's 2 years ago. That total was more than double the level in 2015 to 2019. And that 2023, 500 terawatt hours will triple to 1,500 terawatt hours by 2030, which is only about 4 or 5 years from now. At that level in 2030, the data centers would consume as much electricity as India. That is the world's third largest electricity user. So in that 10 years, through data centers, we're going to create an energy user that is as large as India. What happens to the climate? What happens to the environment? So don't just think of money, 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 money. As a result of the tariff imperialism, Trump's MAGA and Project 2025, and AI, you find that economic policy uncertainty has skyrocketed. This is economic policy uncertainty for America as of June is at record high. For Europe, it is also a record high. For China, the economic policy uncertainty shot up and then has been falling. Of course, it's a different government altogether. Then, in terms of trade policy, I hope my chart is clear enough for you to see this, only updated up to April 2025. It is, if you compare to 2020, where the pandemic hit, or in 1997, where the Asian crisis hit, the current trade policy uncertainty index is undescribable. It's at a level that the world has never seen before. So I would say thanks to Xi Jinping and China, because they stood up to America's most shameful imperialism. Because if Xi Jinping had not done that, if Trump had gotten his way and imposed that reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd on every country in the world, by now, June, we would be looking at the first Great Depression of the 21st century. Because that was what happened in 1930 when US imposed the Smoot-Hawley Act. Major countries retaliated against America, and there was a tariff and a trade war leading to economic collapse. So this time, there was no global economic collapse because China stood ground and said, no, you cannot bully us, and therefore defended the rest of the world. So I would say that this is something that I think the rest of the world should appreciate and be a bit more united in standing up to what America is trying to impose on the rest. You know, China's approach is completely different. You have Starbucks opened the first store in China in 1999. And Jiaji now has already opened its first store last month in Los Angeles. China's approach is, I think, best exemplified by this comment from the Chinese ambassador to the United States, Mr. Sheffer. He says, the US is now the world's third largest tea importer, while China has nearly 400 million coffee drinkers. The ambassador says coffee and tea are not incompatible with each other, and both coffee and tea can perk you up and leave you with a nice aftertaste. So what it's trying to say is that, look, it is possible, entirely possible for different civilizations to draw on each other and prosper together. That is China's approach. Coming back to the market outlook, the stock market. First, we start with US. US is suffering huge fiscal deficit. You can see the orange yellow line, which is 2025 up to April. It is running ahead of 2023, ahead of 2024. And then you have Trump's, he loves to describe it as the one big, beautiful bill, which is going to add 2.4 trillion deficit to America. If you add on interest that America has to pay, the additional deficit will be $3 trillion US. If you include temporary provisions and all that, then this one big beautiful bill would add 5 trillion deficit to America's debt. 5 trillion. Already, America's fiscal deficit is 7% of GDP. Malaysia is about 3+%. Can you imagine Malaysia having a fiscal deficit of 7% GDP? I think our government would have been collapsed. Which is why Elon Musk slammed Donald Trump's big bill, beautiful bill. They call it a disgusting abomination. He says he can't stand it anymore, and this massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. It's not just him. I mean, a lot of people are against the bill. Look at the US market valuation. This is based on the stock market capitalization to America's GDP. If you see, I hope I can point to you. I hope you can see my pointer here. All right. This is up to March only. By now, June is slightly higher. Now, look at this line, the red dotted line, which is 2 standard deviation. It shows you how overvalued the American stock market is. And every time it hits the 2 standard deviation, there's been either a major or at least a minor bear market. So this is where we are now. The US recession, yes, this model, the yield curve, the inverted yield curve, has been flashing the US recession for, I think, close to about 2 years by now, and yet there's still no recession. But like I said previously before, hold on first, right? There's a reason why the yield curve is inverted, and it is too early to say that this inverted yield curve model is not working anymore. If you look at stock market capitalization by country as a percentage of GDP, of course, the top line at the bottom, the top line at the top, not at the bottom. I hope you can see my mouse. Yeah, somewhere here, this is America. The next one, another bubble is Japan. The other one is India. India, probably you can excuse it, saying that it's a fast growth developing country. And then the red line at the bottom is China. So among these four markets, China is extremely undervalued. And you look at the charts of S&P 500 and NASDAQ, I don't know. The technical indicators, if you look at S&P on the 500 on the left side, and you see it's a monthly chart, you see the two blue lines showing you the resistance line, and at the top is the MACD showing you that the MACD is already turning bearish. The same thing can be seen for NASDAQ. What will trigger a bear run in America? There are so many possibilities. And then the US bond market, this is the 10-year yield on the 10-year bond. It has not dropped in spite of all the inflation coming down. It's still hovering at about 4.5%. That is pretty high. So look out. I'm just guiding you. Tomorrow, 11 June, is the May CPI for America. 12 June is America's PPI. And then 27 June is America PCE, which is the inflation indicator that the Federal Reserve depends on. But these three will give you a sense, because the previous inflation figures have been pretty well behaved. That's because the tariff impact hasn't hit yet. But in the coming months, in June, July, August, September, this is when the flow-through effects of the tariff would be felt. So the next couple of months, the inflation figures are extremely, extremely crucial. A very interesting chart where I show you the Dow Jones Industrial Average in blue and the S&P China Index in red. From 2021, the two indices diverge. The Dow Jones has gone up, continued to go up. The Chinese index entered the bear market and seems to have bottomed out. So for me, this creates an extremely exciting opportunity with low risk, especially with all the uncertainties that I mentioned to you earlier. Two great funds for you to invest in if you agree with my bullishness on China is our iCapital China Fund managed by our Hong Kong office, or our iCapital International Value Fund managed by our Australian office. The performance of the China Fund from the Hong Kong office, as you can see, has been decent. Annualized return is about 12%. In US dollar, in ringgit, it's about 7.4%. And if you compare the ICCF, the iCapital China Fund, with the KLCI, of course, the China Fund has performed much better than the KLCI in ringgit and in US dollar terms. The other fund, which is highly exposed to Chinese stocks, 88% of the portfolio is exposed to Chinese stocks, is the International Value Fund. So if you take the period of January 2024 up to May 2025, a period that includes the coming in of Trump, the Trump's tariff, and so on and so forth, you'll find that our International Value Fund in AUD, because this is priced in AUD, has beaten the ASX and has beaten the All-Country World Index, which includes NASDAQ and S&P 500. Why am I bullish? Why am I maximum bullish on China? I always say that it's the strongest economy in the world. It's got the biggest consumer market. Am I wrong? Well, the Chinese car market is the biggest at about 28 to 30 million vehicles a year. The Chinese car market is equal to America combined with Europe. China is the most competitive economy in the world. It's got top quality government. China is a great source of certainty, stability, and prosperity. I'm maximum bullish. Another great place to invest in is ASEAN, Malaysia, Southeast Asia. You look at S&P 500 in blue and the S&P Southeast Asia Index. The S&P Southeast Asia has been pretty flat for the last 10 years, whereas the S&P 500, well, as you can see for yourself, has gone up and up and up. But this divergence cannot continue because, as I mentioned earlier, US markets are overpriced. US economic situation is extremely uncertain, and the foreign funds, foreign investors are running away from US dollar assets, whether it's US dollar bonds, whether it's US dollar equity, they're running away, they're shifting. The first place they've shifted to is Europe. But I think pretty soon they recognize the great values that we have in countries like Malaysia, Indonesia. So this is the KLCI, very long term. You can see the rectangle, the blue rectangle at the top and the bottom. The top is to show you the technical indicator. This was in 1997, 1998. This is where we are now. Both are bullish, and both are showing you where the KLCI is trading at major support level. And the interest rate differential between US dollars and ringgit is narrowing, especially if the US goes into recession or whatever, or the market crash, then the Federal Reserve will cut interest rate there, and the interest rate differential between ringgit and US dollar will narrow, and the foreign funds, the US dollar and other foreign funds, will start to flow into markets like ours. In fact, for the month of May, the inflow of foreign funds into Malaysia, ringgit-based asset has been pretty strong. So of course, I have to give you iCapital-based Berhad because I definitely believe that this is the best stock to invest in a world of uncertainty where you want return but with low risk. As you can see, A and B at the top here, this is to show you where the share price of iCap is extremely oversold. A was in 2009, B is about now, C and D is the MACD monthly basis. C is to show you 09 where it turned bullish, D is now where it also turned bullish, and E and F are good buying points for iCapital-based Berhad. The performance, the 3-year performance, if you don't want so short term, if you want to look at a slightly longer term, 3-year performance of iCapital-based Berhad has been very strong versus the MSCI Malaysia or the KLCI. On an annualized basis, the share price of iCapital-based Berhad has been 8.6%. That's the share price, annualized return. NAV is about 5.3. And I think you'll find that the current situation allows investors, if you buy now, to be able to enjoy, in addition to capital gains, dividend. Let me just show you the dividend, right? ICA's got a very innovative dividend policy. It consists of a base rate, which is 1% of NAV. If the NAV is 4 ringgit, then your base rate dividend is 4 cents. The top-up rate, if the NAV is 4 ringgit and the share price is 3 ringgit, the difference is 1 ringgit, then you get 8% of that 1 ringgit. So you get 8 cents, right? So if the base rate is 4 cents and the top-up rate dividend is 8 cents, then you get a total 12-cent dividend. So this dividend policy is innovative because if the share price of ICAP rises more than the NAV, then you enjoy more capital gains. If the share price of ICAP drops more than its NAV, then ICAP dividend yield goes up. There will always be an ICAP dividend, unlike other listed companies, right? Because when they don't have good profit, they postpone the dividend. In the case of ICAP, it is a base rate dividend of the NAV will always be positive. So if the NAV, let's say now is 360, doubles to 720 in 5 years from now, then your base rate dividend will also double. This is extremely unusual and extremely attractive. So this is to contact us again.